Hello everybody, it's Jean Marie. I have my October box here. I am going to work with that, making this pair of earrings that I had told you I would try to recreate with you guys. This one I made as a pendant in our September box, but I'm going to recreate these as earrings in our October box using two of the 10mm beads that we received and just four of the pretty little crystal bicones that we received. And other than that, you're really just going to need some wire. These pieces are just some scrap wire of 18 gauge. I have 4 pieces here. They're not exactly the same length. These are just to work on. These are going to be working wires. They're not actually going to be in the earring, but they are an 18 gauge. And that's kind of important because you need to fit it over your 20 gauge piece afterwards. So you want something big enough to enable it to slide. And you'll see what I mean when we get going. I do have some 24 gauge vintage bronze. This is my working wire for the little, what do I do with it? It's not even there, for these little point pieces. And then I have a 20 gauge, which is going to be the frame, this part, and this is the part that is going to have to slide through these, which is why we want the holes that they're going to be wrapped around to be the 18 gauge, so that it's not a tight fit trying to get it back through the 20 gauge, or the 20 gauge back through it. But yeah, anyway, to get started, we will need to start with our 4 little pieces of wire here. And whatever works best for you, if you want to tape them together with a little painter's tape, or put some type of clamp on it, or just try to hold them in your hands, which is what I generally end up doing. But I'm going to take my 24 gauge bronze, and I'm not going to take it off the spool. And this is going to be really hard under the camera, but I'm going to try to make it work for you guys. And I'm just going to go kind of an inch or so from the end of each piece, hold it, and I'm going to wrap the wire nice and tightly. 1, 2, I do want to pinch those up together as much as possible. And the first part of it's always messy, so don't worry if it's coming out messy on you. It will. It takes a little bit to get it going. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I want a total of 5 to begin. Whoops, sorry about that. Total of 5 to begin with. I might have to raise my camera up and zoom in a little bit, because this is really, really close. But there is 5, and I do want to get them pushed all nice and down, like this. Okay, I am going to raise my camera up, so hold on with me here. Oop. My stand is getting bad. Okay, I'm going to zoom in, give myself a little more room to work, and hopefully that will help. Okay, so here are my wraps. Okay, now I'm going to take a second one and put it right on top of this one, just like this, and I'm going to wrap one time around that one. I'm going to bring in my third one and wrap one time around all 3 of those, and bring in my fourth one and wrap one time around all 4 of those. Kind of keep pushing stuff together. You see the little pyramids start to form. So now, going back, we're going to go over the bottom 3, So we're going between the bottom 3 and the top one, just like this. Apologize if I wander out of frame on occasion, but I will try to make sure that everything comes up close to the screen so you can see where I am afterwards. Then we're going to go back and we're going to go between the 2, so there's 2 on top, 2 on bottom. So now we're just going back over 2. And now we're going to go back over just the bottom one. Once you start getting going and it starts adhering to the wire a little bit for you, it's not as hard. It just takes a little time to get going. And you do want to make sure that you're pushing them down tight. This one's going to give me trouble. Alright, I do need a tool, I guess, to push that a little bit. I have no fingernails right now, so I'm going to have to use my tool. There we go. Sorry about going out of frame there. Just trying to see what I was doing, but I just took my tool and I used it to compress that bottom one in. Okay, so now we're just going to repeat that. We're going to go back up again, going this time between the bottom 2 and the top 2. Bring it all the way up. Back up between the bottom 3 and the top one. And again, over all 4 of them. And you can see the second pyramid starting to form. Take a minute to push things together. Keeping your work nice and tight. You can, if you've got them pushed together tightly, you can take your wire nylon jog pliers and give them a little tap. I wouldn't squish them down on there, but give them a little tap. That'll help them stay in place a little bit. Don't do it until you made sure that they are compressed, though, because then you're not going to be able to get them compressed. All right, so we'll continue this again. We'll go back over 3, skipping the top one. Push it in there. Back between the bottom 2 and the top 2. Push it in there. And again, back over just the bottom one. If you find this too tight, when you go over the bottom one, you can add a couple extra in there if you want to. You don't have to have it just be 1. You can do 2. I like it tighter. It gives me a little more of the pyramiding, but I know a lot of people just do it with the 1 in there, and that's fine too. I mean, with the 2 in there, and that's fine too. Basically, you're ending one and starting another pyramid. I call them pyramids. I don't know what they're really called, but mountain peaks, pyramids, I don't know. But definitely, if you wanted to, you could do 2 wraps around this wire before you start off on the next one. Totally up to you. So I am going to do 1 more with you, and then I'm going to finish it off screen. So up over 2, up over 3, up over 4. Okay, get them all compressed. Then go back to up over 3, and up over 2, and then over just the 1. Get everything compressed. Tap it down just a little. And this is what we've got so far. Don't squish it down hard when you're tapping it, because you do need to pull these out. These are all going to get pulled out of it afterwards, and you don't want them so tight that you can't get your wire out. Okay, so we're going to continue that until we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 peaks. Okay, so I'm going to be back. I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to get the second one ready. So you do the same, and then join me back here. Okay, so I'm back. I have done my 5 points. I forgot to mention at this point, where we did 5 loops here at the beginning, we want to finish it with 5 here at the end, around the very last one here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And at this point, this piece is finished. And it should look like this. Okay, so I am just going to continue on right from here to make my second one. I'm going to start with 5 more rings around this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm just going to continue up over the 2. You do not have to do this. You can cut it after the first one is finished, or you can just continue on to make your second one all in one piece. Totally up to you, whatever is easiest for you. I figure I'm here, I'm already connected, I might just as well finish them up. Okay. Coming back down. Trying to make sure I get my right wires. Sometimes that can be the tricky part, just getting between the right wires. Press everything down and finish it off with the one at the bottom. And then I'm just going to finish this off with another 4 peaks, and then I'm going to finish it with 5 wraps and meet you back here. Okay, so I have finished my 2 sections. So now I'm just going to cut this wire off. At this point, I need to start pulling these wires out. So the easiest way to start is at the top, because those ones are a little bit looser. So at the top of your peaks, and you're just going to grab a wire, the wire, and pull it out. Move down to the second one, the third one, and these are pulling out really nicely. Perfect. So now we have no wires left in it. Just our 2 pieces. I am going to get in between right there. Separate them just enough to get my cutters in there. Perfect. Okay, this one has a little bit more of a barb on it than that one, so I'm just going to trim it down flush. Like that. Going to do the same thing over here. Just trim this piece right off. Make sure it has no pointy stickies. Same thing on this side. Okay, there's our two pieces ready to go. Now we're going to move on to the 20 gauge wire. Straighten it out a little bit here. I'm going to give myself about 5 inches. It's probably way too much, but I'd rather have more to work with than less. And I'm going to cut 2 of those. Okay. So there's that. And at this point we're going to take the very small end here, a little tube, and we're going to put this 20 gauge wire right through the whole thing, just like that. Okay? And get it somewhat centered and just start to form a bit of a ring. And it will wobble on you at first, and it will want to do funny things, and that's fine. It takes a little bit of time to get it into place, and that's okay. Okay, so we got that one started. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just put it right through. Bring it down to the center here, ish. Start to form it into a loop. And you do want those to separate a little bit when you're forming it. Okay, so there's 2 of them in the same basic shape. And then it's going to wobble around on you a little bit at first. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to take some more of that 24 gauge. Let me get it straightened out a little bit because it's a mess from working off the spool. Okay, I'm going to cut off maybe 6 inches. And at this point, I just want to get these somewhat in place. Get my curves kind of how I want them. If you have something you bend it around, it could help. Let's see, what do I have? I think the marker might be too small. Maybe not. Yeah, probably is. Yeah, that's a little too small. Let's see what else I have here. Fingernail polish bottle. That might work. Let's see. That's not too bad. That's not too bad right there. Just want to get it big enough to give you the area to work in. Okay, so we're going to go back to our piece of wire here, and I do want to put it at the top. I want my curls to be curls, whatever you want to call them, to be up here rather than down here where these ones were. If that makes sense. 1, 2, I think 3 should do it. 1 more, 3, pinch it all up tight, and we're going to feed on our bicone, our bead, and our second bicone. Whoop. Try not to lose your bicone. And put on the bicone again and again. Okay, so we got a nice curve by putting that around the fingernail polish bottle. So now we need to just bring this in across each other enough to get that to set in the right spot. Apologize for the noise. Okay, so we have that setting down into, just trying to get it to stay there. Okay, I'm holding it very close. This is all pushed up tight and it's right at the rim. Hopefully you can see what I'm saying. And if I get that wire out of the way, I can do this easier. I am going to wrap around. It's just moving and moving. Around that one, right there. Not that one. This one 3 times as well. Okay? Okay. Now it's all a little wonky at the moment. You can see nothing's lining up correctly. It's all over the place. That's fine. What we're going to do now is push. Whoops. Push. I do need to tighten these ones up a little bit. There we go. Push everything down. Oops, sorry, bumping the table. To line up like this as much as possible. You are going to have a little gap between these two rows because of the wire that's going through. So at this point, once I get it where I want it, where I think everything is lining up nicely, I am going to take my flat tipped pliers here and I'm going to get in there and I'm just going to squeeze them both, ouch, not my finger, onto that wire so it stops moving. Now it's not shifting around on me anymore. And now that I'm not holding it, I can get in there and do a little more tweaking, a little more tightening. Just tighten it up. Try not to hit it so hard that you flatten or cause gaps. Let me get this wire out of the way now. Go right over to the back side here and cut it off. Same on this one. Okay. Pull that one back into place because I did kind of move that a little bit. And just bring it back down into place. Grab the tip of it and continue it around and smoosh it right down. So everything's nice and tight and there's no pokey hanging out. And this is what we're getting so far. We do have a little ways to go still, so you know, if it's not looking quite right yet, give it time. Okay, if you want to push it down in a little more before you give it another squeeze, feel free to do so. This is where your tools come in handy. Use them. Okay, and I think I'm good. I think that right there is good. That's my back side. This is my front side. Okay, so now at this point, I just want to get these wires as straight as possible now. So I have been moving them around a little bit and causing some curves and get them all straightened. It also work hardens them a little bit, which is good for it. Alright, and now at this point we're just going to start forming the crossing at the top, just a little at a time. Get it to where you want it. It can be small like this, it can be longer like that, whatever works for you. It did come out a little different than that one, which is fine. They're all going to come out a little different. So I think I like that placement right there just fine. So at this point, I'm going to grab it right at the crossing here as best I can. I'm going to grab a hold of the bottom wire, stand it straight, grab a hold of the top wire, and give it a bend. And then I'm going to take the the top wire that is bent over the bottom wire and start to create that wrap You guys will not be doing this under a camera, so it will work a lot better for you, I promise. Okay. Get that over there. Bring that in with a little pinch. Close it up a little. There we go. Okay, this is what we've got so far. Looking very nice. Alright, let's go back here and trim this piece off. Tuck that in. There. Okay. Now we are almost finished with this earring. This is what you should have so far. Okay, at this point I'm going to, and you know what, you could have made these with 6 or with 7 or 8. You could do as many as you want, just to let you know. It does not have to only be 5. But I am going to get in here with my pliers and just grab the very tips and just start separating them a little bit. Give them a little bend. I wished I had fingernails so I could get in there, but I don't, which makes it really hard. Okay. Separate them out best you can. The little first one, the one that went around the 2 wires, I usually just bend it out. I don't bother bending the tip on that one. I usually only bend the tip on, well, like the second one. And then the first one I let stand somewhat. And then you're going to bend this side out this way. And it doesn't have to be a lot. You don't even have to do it at all if you don't want to. It just gives it a little more character, I think. So basically I'm only doing the one that's on either side of the tallest point. And you do have to get in there and separate them a little bit to get them. And that's fine. Can't even seem to find that one. There it is. Okay. Now after we've done this, we do want to come in and just, it's actually better to do it with wire jawed. Don't squish them, just tap them back down into place. And that will hold everything in place for you. And there is the first one. See if I can get it up here so you can actually see it. And that's one complete. Now all I do for my loop, and you can do it any way you want, but all I do is bend it sideways, grab it right here and bend it right sideways over that wrap. I trim it off to about 1/4 of an inch like I would if I was doing it with an eye pin. Take my round nose, if I can find them here, and I just grip the tip of it. And my pliers are getting rusty and they're starting to stick. I think my granddaughter may have spilled something a little sticky on them. And I just roll it back into a loop, just like that. I do want it a little more closed up. I don't want a gap there. And there it is. There's earring number 1. Oops. There it is. There's earring number 1. Hopefully. I know we got a lot of stuff in the way here. Let's get some of this out of the way so we can see. Isn't that pretty? And again, like I said, it could be a pendant, it could be an earring. And we're just basically going to repeat this whole process for the second earring. And I have plenty of time, so we'll do it right here with you. Again, just cut off a length of my 24 gauge. Grab my second earring. Grab my fingernail polish bottle. Give it a good curve. At this point, I think I do want to kind of tap this down on the edges just a bit so it stops moving on me like the other one was moving quite a bit. I didn't really enjoy that. So I'm just going to take that first little ring and just squeeze it onto the wire like that. That's going to help hold everything steady for me while I work, or steadier. Okay, so let's get started again. All right. So I'm going to work in this direction. I'm going to take my wire. I'm going to knock beads on the floor. 1, 2, 3. Get those all pinched together nicely. Get this piece out of the way. There we go. Get those pinched. It's going to give me a hard time. There we go. It's there. Okay, so we got that all nice and tight together, the 3 of those, which is what we want. Okay, my wire is pointing out from my earring. I have a bend in it, so I'm going to cut it off so my beads will go on. And again, string on our 3 beads. The 1, 2, and 3. Okay, bring this back down. I think before I even get started on this one, see, this one hangs down way lower than my other one did. And they're all going to be different like that. You never know. I mean, this one was, but I think I used a thicker wire too. I think I might have used my 20 gauge wrapping this piece. So it came up a lot higher. It's also not as compressed as this one was, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that they're all going to look different as long as you two, if you're making earrings, as long as you two look similar earring wise, and these do, then you're all set. So once again, let's bring this in here, right next to my last wraps from the peak piece. Get it in there. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, perfect. Let's go on the back, trim those off. Try not to cut anything other than that. Okay. Once again, take your pliers, roll those little pieces in that we just cut. Squeeze it down on your frame to hold everything in place. Get your other one into the same area. And again, grab that little cut piece. You can see the little cut end. You want to make sure that you are wrapping that right around the wire, like that, so there's nothing sticking out, and then give it a little bit of a squeeze to hold it to the wire, and everything should be pretty much in place now. Okay, looking good. All right, let's go in and get our little peaks here and start forming the little bit of a curve to them. one's kind of overlapping it. Let's get that out of the way. Well, the snowing that we were just getting has turned to rain. Thankfully, I'm not ready for snow. All right, and those ones are all a little bit of a bend in that one because it was overlapping my other piece and I had to get it out of the way, but I might be able to get it out by just pinching it. It's not too bad now. Okay, and going back to my nylon jar. I don't know why I can never remember the name of these things. It's not that difficult. My nylon jawed pliers, and giving my wire another straightening. This one didn't get quite as badly bent as the other one did, but that's okay. They do get a little bent. So we're just going to start again. Now you can make them total opposites of each other by bending this wire over this one, because that one went across that way. I don't know if you can see. So I can bring this one across this way and make them perfectly symmetrical of each other. Just want to make sure I'm getting my cross section in a general area of the other one. It's not super easy to get them exact, but you want to get them somewhere else close. Okay, I think that's pretty good. They look pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. It looks pretty good. All right, so again, I'm going to take my back wire right at the crossing, stand it up straight. I'm going to take my top wire right at the crossing and bend it down. I'm going to hang on to it. I think I'm going to hang on to it with my pliers this time, though. It works a little bit better than just trying to use my hands. And form that, well, maybe not. Maybe it was better with my hands. Because that really just messed it up. Well, let's see what we can do to fix it. So don't do that. Ah, boy. I really wish I hadn't tried that now. Alright, I'm going to have to undo it. Get a good video of what not to do. Because you know what? We all do things that mess things up, and we wish afterwards we hadn't done it, and we don't know how to fix it, or even if we can, and you know, have to scrap it and start over. I don't want to have to scrap it and start over. It wouldn't be that hard. All I have to do is pull the wire up, put a new one in it. But if I can save it, I'd rather try to save it. I don't want to bing in and take that coating off in it, so I am trying to be very, very careful with it. I probably should just replace it, show you guys how to do that, so I think that's what I'm going to do. Alrighty, here we go. Let's see if we can't get it off without ruining it. Oh, there, it came right off. Perfect. So now there's our two pieces, looking not so pretty anymore. We get another piece of 20 gauge out. Okay. Put this piece back on. Oops. Because it's been curved, it's not laying straight anymore. You gotta really make sure you don't push it out through the sides. Okay, give it some shape again. So now you got a tutorial inside of a tutorial on how to repair what you may have messed up. All right, so we want these up top. I'm just going to slide that on. Try to get over here and get this one. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. If I was in frame, you probably could. So this is what I've done so far. I have just put both of these back on. And I'm going to work on sliding them down gently. Okay, getting there. Perfect. All right, that wasn't such a bad fix. See, not too bad. Considering it could have been a disaster. All right, let's get this piece back down where it belongs. Give it a squeeze onto the wire again. Get this one back down where it belongs. Squeeze it onto the wire again. Okay. And there we go. We are almost set to redo it. Because we all want to have to redo, right? But at least it showed you, you know, if you mess something up, it generally can be fixed. You don't always have to scrap the whole thing and start over. And that was a really quick fix, so it wasn't so bad. Alright, I do want these wires just a little bit straighter. Okay, and start bringing them in again. Get back to the point where we were, which is just about right there, I think. Looks pretty good. Okay, so let's do this again. Take this top one and bend it that way. Take the bottom one and stand it up. And I'm going to very carefully this time create my two wraps. Take my pliers, pinch everything down in. Make sure everything is good. Put a little bit of a straightening in this wire here because it did warp slightly. And I think it looks pretty good. Alright, so once again, trim it off, tuck that end in, get it all pushed down in tight. Okay, looks good. Looks about the same as this one. Yes. All right, so if you have the wide tipped pliers, the ones that don't have teeth, where's my other ones? I don't see them at the moment, but these ones don't have teeth. They're smooth inside. Not exactly the pair I wanted, but I'm going to get in here and I'm just going to work my way up this wire on both sides, right from the curve to the joining. I'm going to do both front and back. It'll not only work harden it, but it'll also straighten that wire out for you quite a bit. It'll take out any wonky waving and stuff that you had in it from just from working on it. So that helped straighten that out quite a bit. Get in here and do the same thing with this one. So Sorry, I keep moving out of frame. Get that all nice and straight. Get it all hardened. That looks really good. Okay, so these are looking pretty symmetrical, I have to say. I think they look really good. They look even. They look about the same size, same shape. All right, so now to bend it over. Get those ones out of the way. I like these ones better. Bend it right over my wraps. Trim it down. Grab my round nose. I've got little pieces of metal everywhere now. And roll a loop just like you would roll any rolled loop. Okay. Make sure it's straight, make sure it's even, make sure it's closed. Yeah. And I think that looks pretty good. I did bend these ones just slightly, so I won't pull them back out. Okay. So what do you think? Wasn't too difficult, was it? Hopefully you guys will give it a try. You know, do one. If you don't like working with it, you've got a pendant at least. So, you know, don't be afraid to try it. It's just wire. You know, I screwed that piece up. I hauled it out and got rid of it. Put in another piece. It's just wire. Not a big deal. Let's put some ear wires on these now. Speaking of wire, let's add some ear wires. Okay. And they're not heavy, even having all this metal on it. They're very lightweight. Not heavy at all. And they're pretty. Have a nice little sparkle to them. At the same time, they show off that beautiful bead. And there's our earrings, all completed. So what do you think of them, guys? Gonna give it a try? I'd love to see it if you do. You do make some? Show me a picture of it. Show it on my YouTube channel. In the comment section, add a picture of it so I can see it. I'd love to. So there it is, guys. That is the October bargain bead box, and a very pretty little pair of earrings made with that. I am going to get those up onto a display and take a better picture of them, hopefully. I'll be right back. Okay, here they are. Aren't they pretty? So pretty. Not that hard to make, really. It is time consuming, but it's really not hard. So give it a try, guys. Make one. You know, like I said, make a pendant. If you don't like doing it, you've got a pendant done. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this one. Please, please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you can be notified when I put up new tutorials. Yeah, all that stuff. Whatever there is down there at the bottom, hit it. Except for the thumbs down. Don't hit the thumbs down. Thanks, guys. Really do appreciate it. Bye-bye.